All right, so I'm going to repeat the steps again, okay, because of the poor recording earlier on. So I'm going to close this comp and start from the beginning. Okay, we will start from a brand new comp. So the first thing you want to do is to set your comp settings. So make sure you click on your node graph. Okay, I'm going to turn on the OSD hotkey first. Right, click on the node graph and then press S to bring up the project properties or comp properties. Change the full size format from 2K to HD 1080. FPS change to 25 frames per second. Right. So next, we want to bring up the viewer. So you can just click on the viewer and then press 1. All right, so you can see the viewer activated on the viewport. Then press H. All right, you can press H, right, so that it will zoom to fit the entire frame onto the viewer. Next, press R. Bring your cursor to the node graph. Press R to read in the footage. Right? To view the footage, select the footage and press 1. Okay, you can scrub the timeline to view the entire footage. And as mentioned before, we want to use this tree stump here, right, as a reference. So we must first bring in a tracker. So press tab to bring in the tracker node. Okay, so make sure that the tracker node is connected, the footage is connected to the tracker node. Right, once it's active in the viewer, you notice that you have a bunch of new buttons. We are going to click on this first button here to create our tracker. So click on it and click on the stump. Okay, unfortunately, my timeline is not at frame 1 when I created that. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to scrap my timeline to frame 1. Then I'm going to click, holding down to Control Alt, and then click on the feature that I want to track. So in this case, the tree stump here. You can middle mouse roll up, mouse wheel roll up to zoom in, and then you can adjust the tracking zone or tracking region. All right. So I'm going to use the default tracking tool first to see how far I can track by clicking on this button here. The shortcut button is V. Okay, so you can observe on this window here. Okay, right now the tracking has gone bad, so I'm going to cancel it. All right, and I'm going to scrub back to the point where the last keyframe is properly tracked. Okay, and then I'm going to click on this button here. Clear forward is going to delete away all the frames that has been tracked in front. Okay, so now I'm going to use the keyframe tracking method. Using my cursor keys, I'm going to press right cursor 5 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then move it back to the stump again. So to generate a keyframe on the timeline, which is indicated by this blue dot here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then track again. I'm going to make the manipulator window here a little bit bigger so that I can do some fine-tune adjustments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then move it into place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the right cursor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just keep on continuing until you reach the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then manually move the cursor, the tracker point right to the point of interest. So what I'm doing here is manual tracking. So you can see I'm pressing the cursor 5 times, 5 frames forward, then I'm going to move the tracker points. Okay, remember to move the tracker points until you can see the white cross on it. Indicated by this tracker center point. Okay, so please move, click and move the view until it tracks the center point. Okay, the last frame now. Okay, now we want to do some fine tuning with the keyframes. So you can navigate between the keyframes by clicking on these keys, and you can see the shortcut key is either you press Alt left or right. Okay, so I'm going to press onto Alt and then left right on the cursor key to compare between the keyframes. So I'm going to press left again and then right left to compare. Left again, right left again. I can see this is, I need to move this keyframe a little bit. Then back left again, right left left again, right left. Maybe this one adjust just a little bit. Okay. Then holding Alt left, left right. Okay, this is looking fine. This is okay. Left, right, left. Okay, this one is a little bit too high, so just bring it a little bit lower a bit. Okay, left, right, left. Okay, this one you can see some shifting. So this one needs to be a little bit lower. Right, left. So a few pixels can make a huge difference. Say right now we're just only doing one track point. But next time when you're doing a camera solves, you need to make sure that all the track points are perfectly lined up. Okay, holding down the Alt key again, and I'm just going to just move back. Okay, I think all the keys are lined up already. I can hold on to the Alt key and right, just keep on pressing the right key just to make sure that all the keyframes are lined up. Okay, once I'm happy, I'm going to go back to the last keyframe that was tracked, and then I'm going to use this track by keyframes or key track all. So what the software is going to do is that it's going to use all the keyframes that I've provided as a reference point for tracking. So I'm going to track forward now. Now I'm going to observe this window here. You can see there's some shifting in between the frames, which we need to go back and fix later on. Okay, so right now, every time it reaches the next keyframe, it's going to jump back again. Okay, if it goes haywire, when it reaches the next keyframe, it's going to jump back again. Okay, so that one was pretty bad. Okay, so there are several points that we need to go and fix. So now you can see the whole timeline has turned blue. So the animation or the keyframes are already done. So now I'm just going to use my cursor key to navigate between the keys. So if I see a variation, I'm going to manually move it back into place. Okay, the Nuke will attempt to retrack again based on the new keyframes that you have given. So I'm going to press right again, and you can see this is obviously wrong. We're going to move them into place. Now, as I release, Nuke is going to track based on a new keyframe again. Okay, then I'm going to press the right cursor button to just progress to the next frame. So I'm going to keep on pressing until I find a bad frame, and then I'm going to manually readjust again and release. Okay, this is okay. This is fine. Well, this is not so good. I'm going to just move it. Okay, this is okay. So just keep on tapping the right cursor until you go through the entire timeline until you get everything matched perfectly. So if you've been doing this for hours, right, it can be very taxing on the eyes. So I suggest you all take regular breaks if you are tracking multiple points. Okay, obviously you can see just now there's a big jump. This one is wrong, so we're gonna drag it into place. This one also is wrong, so sometimes you might need to manually track in between frames. So I keep on tapping the right cursor key until, okay, now it starts to go haywire here. I'm just going to shift it back into place. That one is no good, so I'm going to push this back here. Now, of course, you can adjust the track settings in Nuke. You can track based on brightness, or you can track based on colors. Right, the settings which I have not really shown you guys, but sometimes adjusting those settings, right, can improve your track results. Now, of course, if the footage is short and the track points are very clear, you might not have this issue. You might actually, if you use the default tracking button, the software might be able to track everything successfully the first time. But it is quite common that sometimes you get very bad footage, or you don't have very good features, and you really have to manually go and track, literally, I wouldn't say frame by frame, but majority of the frames. So I've gone through the entire timeline now. I basically supervise the entire track. So once I'm happy with this, okay, I can start to generate the stabilized results. Okay, so let me just quickly talk about the tracking settings. Now, if you find that your tracks, right, the tracking software doesn't behave, you can go to the settings here, and the filter, if you look at the settings here, you can actually track based on the red color, green, or blue. Currently, it is tracking all the three primary colors. Now, if you feel that the footage, right, has very prominent reds or greens, right, you can actually disable the blue, all right? Or you can tell it to track based on contrast or based on median, okay? But most of the time, I will just leave everything as it is, okay? Most of the default settings should work quite well, okay? There are other settings which you can adjust to maybe improve the tracking result. Right, so now I'm going to click back from settings to tracker. We can now generate the stabilized transform node. So to change the stabilized transform node, under the export, click on the drop down panel, click on transform stabilize, and go ahead and click create. Now you'll see that a transform stabilize based on the tracking result is generated. So in order to see the result, we need to plug in the stabilized movement to the footage. And in order to see what is the result like from the transformed stabilized node, we have to add another viewer number. So I'm going to click here and press number 2. So right now, I'm looking at the stabilized version. But you notice that my viewer has a lot of stuff on the screen. That is because my tracker is still active. So in your properties, just go and close the tracker. And you can press H again in the viewer to fill up the viewport. And now I can play back, and you can see that the footage is now stabilized as the frames are being cached into memory. But however, you notice another thing is that the screen is actually moving around. Now, if I were to write this out right now, I will see all these black bars dancing around the edges. Now, of course, I do not want to see that. So I need to apply another transform node onto the stabilize in order to get rid of these black bars. The transform node, I'm going to apply a scale. I'm going to apply a scale onto it. Okay, so now I can see, I'm going to find out the point in time where the bars are really out of place. So I'm going to click on the transform stabilize, and I'm going to press T to bring in another transform node. Then I'm going to adjust the scale so that I can scale in until I don't see the black bars anymore. Now, you can click play again to cache up the memory and make sure that the black bar doesn't appear on the sides. So once you have done that, you can write out the movie. Okay, so now we have the stabilized footage without the black bars on the side. So now we can write this out by selecting the transform node, then pressing W to write. Click on the folder, then I'm gonna export it out, stabilize 2.mov, and save. Then instead of the Apple ProRes 444, I'm gonna use the H264. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit render. I'm gonna use the input length and click OK. Now take note, if you're using the non-commercial version of Nuke, you will not get the H264 codec. Okay, you might have to use the Apple ProRes 422 instead, or any of the other common codecs. Okay, so once it's finished, we can inspect the footage that's rendered out. All right, so now it's rendered. I'm going to check my footage. It's right at the bottom here, second version. And here is the final result. So that's how you stabilize the footage in Nuke. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. Hopefully the audio is not messed up this time.